All right, picture this. A decorated commander, fresh off a successful mission against insurgents in Nigeria's Borno State. Things are looking good. But then, on the way back, an ambush. And what happens in those chaotic moments? Well, that's where everything gets murky. It spirals into this incredibly confusing and dangerous mystery.
So, the big question is, what really happened to Brigadier-General M. Uba? Because one man's fate is suddenly at the center of two totally different stories. That's what we're going to dig into today. We'll break down what we actually know for sure, what each side is claiming, and, why finding the real truth here is just so incredibly difficult.
All right, so let's get right into it. Before we even touch the conflicting stories, we have to lay down the foundation, the stuff that everyone actually agrees on. Because before all the confusion and the competing claims, there was a real violent ambush. That part is not in dispute.
So here's the timeline that all sources seem to line up on. First, General Uba leads a pretty successful mission. Check. But then, on the trip back, his convoy gets hit, ambushed by ISWAP militants. A massive firefight breaks out. And right in the middle of it all, the general himself gets on the line and calls for air support. And you know what? The Air Force comes through, they help beat back the attack. These are the basic, solid facts we can build on.
And this ambush, it had a real human cost. It wasn't just a skirmish. We know for a fact that 4 people died. 2 soldiers and 2 members of the civilian Joint Task Force. That's the tragic, confirmed price of this attack.
Okay, so it's right after that firefight that the story just splits. It's like a fork in the road, leading to 2 completely different realities. And this is where the real battle begins. Not a battle with guns, but a battle for the truth, fought with words and information.
And this is the heart of the whole problem. On one hand, you have the Nigerian Army's official statement. The commander fought through it, he's safe, and any other report is just fake news. But on the other hand, you've got ISWAP claiming they captured him and then executed him. I mean, both of those things just can't be true. It's impossible.
So let's break down the official military position for a second. The acting director of Army Public Relations came out, and she was crystal clear. Her statement was all about superior firepower, a successful fight back, and the big conclusion? The commander was not taken. End of story, period.
But then you've got ISW pushing a totally different narrative. They used their own propaganda channel, the Islamic news agency, to get the word out. And their claim was huge. Not just that they had a successful ambush, but that they captured and then killed a high-ranking Nigerian general. You can imagine, if that was true, it would be a massive propaganda win for them.
So just when you think it's simply a case of he said, she said, the story takes this really modern twist. Suddenly, there are these unconfirmed intelligence reports floating around talking about a digital trail the commander might have left behind. And this adds some really fascinating, but totally unverified, new layers to this whole mystery.
Yeah, according to some security sources, the general might have sent out a kind of digital SOS. We're talking a distress call saying he was alone, in a dangerous spot, and he even allegedly sent his live location from his phone. The story goes that rescue teams raced to that spot, but found nothing. And then there's this really bizarre, almost chilling detail, a supposed video call to his dry cleaner. The general was on screen, but he warned the guy not to say a word. How weird is that? Okay, but here's the big flashing warning sign. This is super important. As juicy and specific as all these digital clues sound, they are completely unverified. The Nigerian military has not confirmed a single one of them. So for now, they're just puzzle pieces, and we don't even know if they belong to this puzzle.
So while everyone's wondering what happened to the general, with all these conflicting reports flying around, the military does something very concrete. They take one clear public action, and honestly, it just raises even more questions.
Just a few days after the ambush, on Monday, November 17th, a new commander is appointed to lead the 25 Task Force Brigade. Just like that, the leadership of a really important military unit was officially changed.
And that, of course, brings up the million-dollar question, right? If the commander was safe, just like the Army said, then why was he replaced so quickly? It's the one question that hangs over everything, and it's a question the Nigerian Army hasn't answered publicly. It just leaves this big, empty space right in the middle of their official story.
So how in the world are we supposed to make sense of all this? You've got a confirmed ambush, 2 stories that are polar opposites, a bunch of unverified digital clues, and a change in command that nobody's explaining. Well, this whole situation is a perfect, textbook example of what military experts call the fog of war.
And what is the fog of war? It's basically the total confusion that happens in the middle of a battle. It's the simple fact that in a situation like this ambush,
Good, clear information is incredibly rare. Facts get jumbled up, communication lines go down, and look, both sides, the military and the insurgents, have very good reasons to spin a story that helps them out, whether it's the whole truth or not.
So, what are the big takeaways from all this? First, you see that information itself becomes a weapon. Claims and denials are just as much a part of the strategy as bullets. Second, it shows you just how tough it is to confirm anything coming out of a remote conflict zone. It also really shines a light on that gap that can exist between the official story and what's actually happening on the ground. But maybe the most important thing to remember is the human element. Because behind all these conflicting reports and strategies, there are real people. A commander, his soldiers, their families, all stuck in this awful state of uncertainty.
And that really leaves us with one last tough question to think about. When you're in a conflict that's fought just as much with propaganda as it is with bullets, a real war of information, how do you even begin to find the truth?